Xbox puts on their developer direct, which I think was an absolutely phenomenal show. I love the developer directs and what they have been doing over the last number of years. So we will go over that because the first half of the year for Xbox is just insanely stacked, and also it's stacked for anywhere that you can play these games. Call of Duty, the best-selling game in December. Again, it shuts down the narrative that Game Pass was going to kill it. So we will go over that. Final Fantasy VII Part 3 for the remake potentially is going to be everywhere, not just locked to PlayStation, as we do have some more information about that. And a couple of more games here to talk about. Games in development by 2 studios crossing over, an interesting pair that you probably wouldn't have expected to happen. Another game is being canceled by the creators of Celeste, which Celeste to me is an incredible game. So that's unfortunate here. And EA and BioWare not faring too well based off of the recent releases of some of their games. So we have an update there, plus some other things. But before we continue, if you are new here or if you've been watching for a while, please consider hitting the subscribe button. My analytics tell me as I go through it and see that about 50% of you watch on a daily basis have not hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. Helps get my channel out there, helps the channel grow, pushes it more into the algorithm, all of that stuff. And all it is the click of the mouse. So let's jump right into it. And let's talk the developer direct. I'll just give you my opinion right off of the bat. I thought it was a phenomenal show, at least a 9 out of 10 for me. I'm trying to think what would make it a perfect show. I'm thinking maybe just one more game at the end or something, but that's kind of greedy from my perspective. But it was a phenomenal show. They showed off Doom the Dark Ages, South of Midnight, Expedition 33, and Ninja Gaiden 4. That was the surprise game. They are bringing back a new one into the series. Ninja Gaiden is a great game, and they announced that you can go play right now, download it, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which is a remake of that original game that was very good. I've played those old Ninja Gaiden games. Lots of fun. They are hard, but just fun-paced action, and I can't wait to jump in and play that. So I thought it was a great show. Now, the coolest thing about this showcase is that we got release dates for 3 of the 4 games. Obviously, Ninja Gaiden 4 is that surprise game. It is coming out in 2025, and we'll have some more information on that. Some interesting stuff there just because of the fact it is an Xbox published game as well. But we got Doom the Dark Ages, which is coming out May 15th, 2025, and the game looks phenomenal. There's also a collector's edition. If you haven't seen that, it comes with a cool statue and everything and a bunch of extra goodies in there. We have South of Midnight coming out April 8th, and then Expedition 33 coming out April 24th. And all of these games are day one into Xbox Game Pass. So the first half of this year is insanely stacked for Game Pass with brand new big AAA titles dropping in that a lot of people will be very excited about. Again, Doom Dark Ages was phenomenal. They showed off more gameplay. They showed off the shield. They showed off that it was slower combat, more of a tank. It's not going to be like jumping around and running and gunning like Eternal was, which I'm actually all for, because the way that they're showing this off with all of your different abilities and the different weapons, and then the extra stuff that they're adding in, like the big mech that you get in, the dragon that flies around, and just the bigness of this world has me insanely excited for this one. South of Midnight, again, looks very good, looks very fun. Now, what is interesting about this game is that I believe it is going to be a much smaller game in terms of the length of it and the overall scope of it, which is completely fine. Like if it's like a 5, 7, 8 hour game, I am actually absolutely okay with that because of the sheer amount of content Xbox is putting out. And the reason I say it's going to be around that length is because it is $40. So $40 means it is going to be probably in the length similar to like a Hellblade 2, which was around that price, I believe, as well, when that did launch. But April 8th looks very good. Combat looks good. The lore and everything of where it's located in the Deep South looks like it'll be a ton of fun here for a lot of people to play. Expedition 33, a turn-based modern RPG with modern mechanics, modern graphics, and an open world that you explore, which was something we hadn't seen before. But there is a world that you are going to be running around in Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Can't wait for that one as well. Now, I think this one out of all of them is the coolest announcement. Ninja Gaiden 4, the game is finally getting a brand new entry into this series. And if you remember back on 360 and the OG Xbox, they had, I believe, exclusive titles for Xbox back then. But now Xbox here is funding this game, publishing it via Xbox Publishing. We're finally getting a new entry into the series. It introduces a new character and with some new abilities and everything. And graphically, just looks stunning. And the combat that they showed off here looks like it is very, very fast paced, very fun, super, super gory. If you like that, I think the aesthetic of this game is phenomenal. And then there's all these traversal messes that they're showing, more verticality, all that stuff, rails, and you're going to be swinging around in this game as well. Looks very good. We don't have an official release date, but it is fall 2025. So this is just another Xbox published game that is dropping day one into Game Pass. And then of course Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which is a remake, looks great too. You can see they added a lot and put a lot of work into remaking this game itself. You can go play this right now. So cool stuff there. Now, when it does come to Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, this is what we know. UE5 with updated visuals, 4 difficulty modes, 120 FPS, gore and dismemberment. It's on Game Pass, or you can pay $50 for it. And you can also get it on PS5 and on PC, of course. And then when it comes to Ninja Gaiden 4, it is a project here from Xbox, from Japan, technically, because it is under Xbox Game Studios Publishing. So they went to Xbox to get this game up and running and finally give us a new entry into the series. In fact, Team Ninja says that Platinum Games, who is the developer behind it, had the expertise we felt was ideal for working on Ninja Gaiden, and with support from Microsoft's Philson, the 3 companies were able to make the next step towards creating a brand new Ninja Gaiden. So we wouldn't be seeing this game. We wouldn't be having this game if it wasn't for Phil Spencer, if it wasn't for Xbox to bring that relationship back and give us a new entry into the series. Phenomenal stuff there. And like I said, the show to me was really good. A 9 out of 10. I would even consider giving it a perfect score if maybe had one more exciting drop at the very end where they said one last thing. But again, I think it's just kind of being greedy. I think the developer direct format is the best format of a showcase across the entire industry. And I know that some people may disagree with me here, but the fact that they give us gameplay and lots of gameplay for every game that they show off, and then give us the release date in a reasonable time frame, to me is far better than just seeing a bunch of different games thrown at you. Half of them are cinematic trailers, no time frame for when these games are going to be releasing. They could be releasing in the same year or in 5 years from now. I think the developer direct is my favorite style of show that we have across the industry. And I think it is incredible that Xbox has put this on 3 years in a row and giving us this type of stuff. The June showcase is going to be coming in, and I'm hoping we get more announcements like we are getting at the developer direct, because they've given us the look at these games that are coming out in the first half. You have to expect that developer or the showcase in June is going to be the same style of thing with more games thrown in there because it's a bigger spectacle, but the same style of thing where we're going to get the release dates and everything to look forward to for Game Pass in the second half of the year. Xbox is bringing it this year. It is the year of Xbox, and you're going to have a lot of fanboys on the PlayStation side saying, oh, but the console isn't selling, and that they get to play all these games, which is completely fine. I mean, they are giving gamers in the industry right now to something to be excited about, to look forward to. A lot of it is coming here from Xbox first party studios, no matter where you are playing this game. So it's a win-win for everybody out there, for gamers, for Game Pass, for Xbox, and even PlayStation gamers who are going to be able to play this on their PlayStation 5, or they can sign up to Game Pass and get it day one, which to me, I think you'll see more people signing up to Game Pass going forward here as more games like this are dropping into the service on the first day that they do release. All right, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I mean, we've gone over this numerous times, but there's more information here. A lot of people were naysayers. I mean, the notorious one was Dreamcast guy, of course, that Call of Duty was not going to sell well. It was going to be terrible because they put it to Game Pass day one. What a stupid decision. All of these things were being thrown out there. I, from the beginning, multiple times throughout my channel, on my videos, said, no, this is a very smart move because Call of Duty sells no matter what. People are going to buy it where they usually buy it, and you're going to get an increase in Game Pass subscribers. So it's like a triple win here for Xbox, like putting it into Game Pass day one. And it does seem like that is the case. The more information that continues to come out. We got the numbers here for December, and Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was the best-selling game of 2024. Once again, as predicted, it was going to be the top seller, even though it launched into Xbox Game Pass on day one. It says Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was the best-selling game of 2024 in the United States. This was announced here by Circana's Matt Piscatella. It says it took over the top spot that had long been held by EA Sports College Football 25 since its launch in December. And with Black Ops 6 releasing at the end of October, that means it took just over 2 months for the latest Call of Duty here to reach the top spot. So it's a huge win once again for Call of Duty and for Xbox, that the fact that they put this into Game Pass day one and we're still able to make this the top selling game of the year. To me, this just shows here the data is going to be available for them to continue to want to do this. They're going to see that people are still going to buy the game regardless as to whether it was an Xbox Game Pass or not. And people are still going to want to get the premium editions and all those editions that give you extra stuff. And Call of Duty is just one of those games that some people just buy it every year. And that's mainly the game that they play throughout the entire year. So if you're playing it on PlayStation, all your friends there, you're probably still going to go ahead and buy it on PlayStation. If you're playing it on PC and via Steam and stuff, you're probably going to go buy it there. If you're playing it on Xbox, you're going to buy it there. You're going to sign up to Game Pass, all those things. And you still have a couple of people or a certain percentage of people jumping from one platform to the other, especially from maybe PlayStation to Xbox, because it is Game Pass day one. So again, a huge win here for Call of Duty, a big success with the release and a big success launching it into Game Pass on day one. All right, Final Fantasy, we know these games are coming to Xbox. They're getting away from exclusivity. Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, all that stuff is going to eventually land on the Xbox platform. They've already been landing on PC. And the question here with Final Fantasy 7 Remake specifically is Part 3. Is that a part of the exclusivity deal that was signed with Sony that now Square Enix doesn't want anything to do with? They want to go full multi-platform. I assumed it was. I assumed that Final Fantasy 7 Remake isn't laying on Xbox until Part 3 is out, and then they'll launch everything together. But that may not be the case. We have an update here that is looking like we may be seeing Final Fantasy 7 Remake Part 3 landing on Xbox at the same time as it lands on the PlayStation console. So we have this here from Insider Gaming. It says Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 will release on a wide range of platforms. This comes via Genki Japan via IGN, spotted that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth producer Yoshinori Kitase and director Naoki Hamaguchi recently spoke about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3's platform exclusivity plans during an interview with 4Gamer. And they were asked whether players should be concerned about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3 exclusively launching for the PlayStation 6, as Part 1 was exclusive to the PlayStation 4 and Part 2 was for the PlayStation 5. And Kitase confirms here that players can rest assured about the next one, that it will be launching on multiple platforms. And Hamaguchi says here the future games for Square Enix should be released on a wide range of platforms, as it allows more people to play their games. It says he doesn't promise anything to the players at the moment, but will try his best to make the games more accessible. Now, Genki here believes that this just means Part 3 might still be a PlayStation exclusive, and what he means by a wide range of platforms is that it's going to be on PS5 as well as PS6, and that Square Enix might have signed some sort of contract with Sony that, like I said, is for all three parts. But you have to sit back, you have to look at what has been happening at Square Enix, and what they continuously are telling us is that they're moving to full multi-platform. They don't want to do any more of these deals. And maybe the deal for Final Fantasy VII Remake rested on a release by release basis for each part, depending on how they did, if they hit a certain amount of numbers, or potentially they bought out of the contract and they're going to make sure that the Part 3 does release on every single platform. The only thing with that is if Part 1 and Part 2 aren't on Xbox by the time Part 3 does launch, which I think they will be, then it's going to be hard for a lot of people to want to just jump in on Part 3 on the platform where the first two parts were. So we will see what happens here, but it's just good for everyone to be able to access and play these games wherever they do want to play them. And that will be the future here for Square Enix games. All right, now when it comes to PlayStation, we know Ghost of Yotei is coming out this year, but we don't really know anything else from their first party studios that is going to be dropped. I'm hoping that there will be at least one more game from PlayStation Studios, but the reality is they've canceled all of these live service games that they have been working on. So you have to ask yourself now, are there going to be new games when they've already wasted a bunch of time and resources on these other games and they're having to start from scratch? Previously to the cancellations, I was almost sure we were going to get more, but now with the cancellations, it seems like it's Ghost of Yote and then maybe Wolverine, but we don't know as well if Wolverine is going to be dropped this year. And Insomniac refuses to actually acknowledge whether they will be dropping this game in 2025. And maybe it's because they're waiting for a showcase or anything like that. But it does say here that during a conversation with Variety via IGN, the new co-heads of Insomniac, Ryan Schneider, Chad DeZern, and Jen Wang, were asked whether Marvel's Wolverine is still slated to release in 2025, and DeZern didn't confirm or deny the release window, but stated that they would love to talk more about Wolverine as the title has already been announced. Still, they must be like Logan today and remain very stoic until it's time to pop the claws down the road. This was first announced in 2021. We are now 2025. You would assume that, yes, this game is ready to come out in 4 years since the announcement of it. There was obviously the whole leaks from Insomniac where we saw very, very early development and gameplay of it. And that could have been gameplay from way before we actually got the leak. So we don't know how far along the game currently is. But I think 2025 makes sense for this game to drop. And maybe he's not commenting because it is going to be coming out this year and they're waiting to announce it at a PlayStation showcase. That to me would make a ton of sense. Or it's not ready and this is going to be a 2026 release. I hope for the PlayStation games on PlayStation 5 that are going to be exclusive, there is at least one more right now from their first party studios that isn't Ghost of Yote. We got some tons of information as well, aside from the developer direct and everything, about Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is coming out in March now. They showed off gameplay. They showed off more combat and everything. I think the game looks absolutely phenomenal. They gave a story trailer, and the story trailer I thought was really, really well done. I'm very excited for this game. So go check all that stuff out. But we also got a look here at the Animus Hub. The Animus Hub is going to be this new hub where you're going to basically access all your Assassin's Creed games, kind of like what Call of Duty does with their hub, where you get access to all the different games in that series. We got our look here as to how we're going to be launching Assassin's Creed now when we want to go ahead and play their games, starting here with Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's kind of cool the way that they are doing it, because obviously the whole Animus, you're going through time and the different areas of the world, and they're all different historical years here. But the Assassin's Creed Shadows, the hands-on previews, some of the things people are saying is that it's the biggest shakeup in the series in years. The Shogun-esque storytelling will be in this game. There's revamped stealth and gameplay. It's stealthier and bloodier than ever before. So people are pretty high on it right now, I believe, from the previews, and you can see it with the gameplay. It does look like they've made some major adjustments here. But then they also showed this off. This is the Animus Hub, and you can see as they go through it, it's basically where you're going to be launching all of the stuff that you have in the Assassin's Creed world. Your memories, the projects, the exchange, the vault, and the memories will be the different games in the series as you're going through. It shows you the years that they are taking place in, like Odyssey and 431 BCE. All of this stuff, very, very cool. And you go through and you're going to be able to launch the game. The other thing here that is mentioned here by Cami here on X is that all the games will be listed in chronological order. There will be a free battle pass with rewards. There's going to be 4 tabs, which is your memories, which is the games, projects, which is the mission content, the exchange, which are the rewards you can get, and the vault, which is narrative content. So this is going to be basically the new launcher here for Assassin's Creed games going forward. I think it is a smart move because it's like kind of along the lines of Call of Duty, where people go and they want to play different games in this series. They're not just going to be jumping in and playing only Shadows. Now you're giving people the option to go and play these massive RPGs, whichever one they do choose, and you get more information on them as you are scrolling through them. I know for myself, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I really did enjoy it, and there's still always content in there to go and do every time you do log in. So it does make sense they're putting it all into one hub for people to just jump in and play the one that they do want. We also got the PC specs for the game. So for those wanting to play this one on PC, here is what we do know. You're going to be able to play this in 3 kind of different modes: selective ray tracing, standard ray tracing, and extended ray tracing. And I'll just go over just the highest one here. So for the best experience, the 4K 60 FPS extended ray tracing NVIDIA GeForce 4090 24GB card. For the standard ray tracing at 1440p 60 FPS 4070 Super 12GB or an AMD Radeon RX 7800 XT 16GB. And then for selective ray tracing here at 4K 60 FPS 4070 Ti Super 16 gig, or AMD Radeon RX 7900 XT 20 gigabyte. Now for the minimum spec, like the lowest card that you can play this game on, and the lowest GPU would be an NVIDIA GeForce 1070 8 gigabyte, an AMD Radeon RX 5700 8 gigabyte, or an Intel Arc A580 8 gigabyte. And that would be playing this game at 1080p 30 frames per second. I like to see when the games do this, because we have seen some previous games come out where the lowest card was like a 2070 or something. I think Indiana Jones was like a 2070 was the lowest that you could play the game on, something like that. But they're opening this up to as many people as possible. I mean, a 1070 8 gigabyte card to play it at 1080p 30 frames per second. If you're okay with that, you're going to actually be able to go ahead and play the game itself. All right, let's jump over here to an interesting partnership that I don't think a lot of people saw coming, but it has to do with Palworld's developer Pocket Pair. They're entering into a publishing deal with Surgeon Studios. And if you know Surgeon Studios, that is the studio behind Tales of Kanzerazawa, which is a fun Metroidvania side-scrolling action game, kind of similar to the Prince of Persia game that came out last year. It was a pretty decent game, and now they are teaming up here with Pocket Pair Publishing for their next game to make it a short horror game, is what they do say. They say the new horror game is set to be released later this year, and the game will be the first title published by Pocket Pair Publishing, a new label from the Palworld developers. They say both Surgeon and Pocket Pair are well versed in taking risks, and we noticed a pattern in the entertainment industry, and Pocket Pair has given us the opportunity to make a horror game about it. It will be short and weird, and we think players will be interested in what we have to say. Now, Pocket Pair Publishing, they must have just popped this up after the success of Palworld, but they say as the games industry continues to grow, more and more games find themselves struggling to get funded or greenlit, and we think this is a real shame because there are so many incredible creators and ideas out there that just need a little help to become incredible games. So they saw the game, they made this deal. So Surgeon Studios' next game here is Pocket Pair Publishing. So we'll see how that one does. I thought Tales of Kanzerazawa was a decent game, and horror game is a complete switch up and change, so it should be interesting what they do come up with. Now, another game to talk about here that actually unfortunately has been canceled. If you're a fan of Celeste like I am, I think that was a phenomenally fun platformer, really, really well done. I was looking forward to see what they have next, and a game has been canceled. This is from Extremely OK Games, has canceled the next game, Earthblade. And basically, I mean, they showed this off. I remember seeing this trailer and was excited to see exactly what it was all about. You can see it has a very similar aesthetic. You know, the platforming and the gameplay is going to be fun if you're basing it off of Celeste, but unfortunately it won't be coming out. And basically, they are saying that there was issues internally with the creators over the rights of the IP. They say earlier this year, a fracture began forming in the team, and that specifically this was between us, Noel and I, and Pedro, a founding member of Extremely OK Games, longtime friend and collaborator, and the art director of Earthblade, and the pixel and UI artist on Celeste and Towerfall. The conflict centered around the disagreement about the IP rights of Celeste, which we won't be detailing publicly. This was obviously a very difficult and heartbreaking process. We eventually reached a resolution, but both parties also agreed in the end that we should go our separate ways. So disagreement over IP rights and everything in this game is no more, which is sad to see. And finally, we will just end off here with EA. They are underperforming here, or they underperformed in 2024. This is what they have announced, as they announced lower financial forecasts as a result of this. And the reasoning is because of two major games here that they say underperformed. You have Dragon Age and EA Sports FC 25 are the two games that did underperform, which has led them to change their forecasts going forward. He says, we remain confident in our long-term strategy and expect to return to growth in fiscal year 26 as we execute against our pipeline. FC 25, kind of surprising that one underperformed, because that is always like a top game. Dragon Age, there was so much controversy surrounding this. Some people loved it, some people hated it. And because when that happens, you're going to have people that don't want to try, don't want to give it a chance because of the side that hated it. And I'm not too surprised that it did not sell as well as they had expected. BioWare is making a new Mass Effect game. That one, I think, is there's a lot riding on it. A lot of people thought a lot was riding on Dragon Age, which I think it was, because it's trying to get BioWare back to form. For a lot of people, BioWare now is just a name. The people working there are different. So No one really expects them to be as good as they were back in the day, or at least I don't anymore. But Mass Effect is going to be one that a lot of people look at now as that next one, as to, is this going to be the game that brings BioWare back to what they expect it to be based off of years and years ago, which I don't know if that's completely fair, but it is what it is. And EA is having to adjust their financial forecasts because of that. I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.